Hello, and thank you for joining us. My name is Grant Patterson, the founder and CEO of Providence, and I'm joined today by a man that I met up at a health retreat at Gwingana, Andy Kidd. And I'd like to share something that Andy does, which is very special for for some of the families. As you know, part of Providence's role is not only assisting on the investment management side of our clients' portfolios, but it's also understanding the real legacy and purpose behind those decisions. And we have a great privilege to be able to work with our families for the longer term legacy intentions. And this is not always financial or tangent. The emotional legacy we leave behind is also very important. And we are privileged to be part of that process. With that, I'd like to introduce Andy. I've never met a more gentle and centered soul. And Andy was showing me through something that he's doing for families, which is very special, which is called the Legacy Book. And I thought it'd be lovely to be able to share with you what this is about, to see if you have any interest in pursuing this on behalf of yourself and your family. So with that, Andy, thanks for joining us today.
Well, thank you, Grant. I appreciate coming in, meeting you and your clients.
Andy, could you just tell me a little bit about your background, personal background and passions before we start?
Absolutely. I've been educated in England of English parents, although I was born in Africa and we traveled quite a bit as a family. I was fortunate to go to Eton College and Edinburgh University, graduated with a Master of Arts in Social Anthropology. I've always loved traveling, and I found on different countries, different adventures, that everybody's interesting. And so part of my life's hobby has been to try to understand humans and what makes us tick and what we value and why we believe the things we do.
Well, when you find that out, can you please let me know, because it can be very complex, as we know, within families. How did the thought of the legacy book come about?
Well, I am a parent, and as most parents probably find out, the children aren't that interested in our opinions until they have their own children one day later. Um, but meanwhile, my grandparents have passed away, and I only really have a short 60-minute TDK tape of my granny talking about herself, and that's really all I know of her whole lifetime, which, like most of us, we regret not having asked our parents and grandparents more. So just had this inspiration that if I could ask people now, while we're alive and sane and healthy, what life means, what we've learned, what we value, what we'd love to leave our kids and grandkids, and ideally generations beyond them, we should seize the chance now. So that's the motivation I have.
Fantastic. And can you run through the process that you go through in putting the legacy book together?
Absolutely. I meet with my clients, sometimes by Zoom, but it can be in person if possible. I'm on the Gold Coast and I travel to Melbourne as well. And first we discuss the scope of the work and the intentions and the expectations and have a contract. And then once we begin, I interview at least 3 times, quite in depth, about key themes of life, quite profound things actually, about what life means to us and why we believe so, and base that on our experiences, our memories and stories. And so from about 3 interviews, I have probably 10 to 15,000 words to transcribe, which I reduce down by editing quite strictly in a way, really to get at the essence of what's being communicated. And then I use probably 3 to 5,000 words of that with photographs supplied by each client, labeled and dated and named, just to talk about their life, the key people and places and experiences, and do my best to publish a beautiful hardback book for each client that's unique, really summarizing the essence of who they are, what they've learned, what they wish to leave behind. This can take up to 3 months, but the quickest I've ever done was within 3 weeks. It really just depends on each client's availability.
And here's an example that we can see on screen of some of the output from a previous legacy book that you put together to give a feel of what this looks like. And I guess me to the next question. Um, why have you gone down the path in this digital world of producing a hard paperback copy book?
I guess I'm old-fashioned, and um, I still love courtesy and promptness and good old-fashioned values of saying what I mean and meaning what I say. I wish the world would keep their word and show up, and of course, it's not like that often. So I'm a kind of trying to plant a flag for good old-fashioned values. But about books, I have a brother who's a scholar of medieval manuscripts in Oxford, and he's shown me books that are 800 years old that are still
Wow.
gorgeous to look at, and they shine off the page. And it's really made me realize that a physical object on the library shelf is going to last way, way longer than any hard drive or cloud. Plus, I think all these memories we have in our hard drives on photos and that no one will ever see. I mean, I still print my photo album so I can physically hand them to my daughter or a friend who's interested and say, look where I've been and talk about it. And so there's something real about an object that you can hold on your lap and leave on the coffee table and give to your friend to have a look, or
Mm.
store in your library for an heirloom for another generation.
Unlike all my photos on my phone that I'll never see again.
Yeah.
Dear. And Andy, what do you enjoy personally most in undertaking this process?
I just find everybody fascinating. I think we assume an awful lot because we might think my beliefs are the right ones, or the way I see the world is the way most people see it. And then you find out, of course, that we're all different and unique, and we share a lot too. But I'm so fascinated by the uniqueness of each of us. And when I ask different clients simple things like, what does success mean to you? You get completely different replies from people. Or it might be, what do you value most in your life? And they go, oh, I've never really thought of that. I have to give it some consideration. And then, of course, it's so interesting, that conversation. Well, that's what we do value. It's not the obvious stuff that we see on the media. It comes back to things that really matter. And the conversation of why and what form those opinions and beliefs is to me is just endlessly fascinating.
Mm. And with putting this book together in the process, how do you typically charge in creating this lasting legacy?
Well, the basic price is $7,000. It's 50% in advance, 50% on delivery. There is a little variation. I've had clients who wanted a much larger project where they involved multiple family members to talk about a deceased relative, and it became more of a biography and a family history than what I typically offer. Because what I really love to focus on is a single individual, one-on-one, who is sharing their own personal wisdom and their unique stories.
Tremendous, tremendous. And with the projects you've done, I guess very varied across different families at different times. I know that you mentioned once, unfortunately, someone tried to undertake this at a very late stage of their presence here, and had to be completed by the rest of the family. But what's the feedback you've had from some of the family members and that you've undertaken this book?
Well, it's been so positive. I've had the client himself say he's so appreciated learning about himself through the process and growing and clarifying his own beliefs. I've had a daughter of a client say that she began to speak with a strange brother after the book was shared among the siblings, because they began
Wow.
to finally understand one another's backgrounds differently and start to bridge their differences. So that completely surprised me, but it was wonderful feedback that it was healing for that family.
Mm.
And I've had someone who didn't seem terribly enthusiastic at the time, and unfortunately he died soon afterwards. And then it was his wife and children came to me to thank me for how much it meant once he'd passed away, because they had on record the things that he would have liked to have said.
Mm.
And I could go on. I mean, it's obviously unique to each, but I've had a lovely variety of positive feedback.
Yeah, and it's lovely not only for the immediate family, but for grandchildren's as they grow up at a later stage to see what the values were from their forebearers. I think it's a lovely thought, and really congratulations on putting this together. Which there's details here to get in contact with you if any of our clients or associates and friends would like to undertake this journey of the legacy book. Happy to put in contact direct with yourselves. We
Mm.
just felt for our clients it was something that's a nice idea for those that it would suit, and we just were wanting to make sure people had access to that if they so wish to go down that path. So with that, Andy, thanks very much. I look forward to
Mm.
catching up with you again in the quiet surroundings of a beautiful health retreat. But in the meantime, congratulations on the work you're doing in with this legacy book, and we're wishing you all the well and best. And thanks very much for being with us today.
Well, thank you, Grant. And just to anyone listening and watching, I just extend a warm welcome and invitation just to be in touch. I'd love to chat with no cost, just to see what you want and if I can help.
Terrific. All right, thanks, Andy, and thanks everyone for joining us.